On ET Now, let's talk about cinema and let's talk about the latest release in our theatre halls. We are seeing Rocketry. Frankly, it's not rocket science, but yes, there is a lot of it in the film. The film is actually about a scientist, someone who got disgraced, someone from ISRO, and his name is Nambi Narayanan. Of course, he fought a long battle to fight those espionage charges that he faced, and he was cleared, but that was after much torture. He was thrown into jail and all of that happened, but the Supreme Court eventually gave him the clean chit. This film is about his life, and the man who's been documenting his life in this biopic is none other than actor R Madhavan. He's not only essaying the lead role, he's also produced and directed this film, and he's doing those bits for the first time in his life. And it's great to have you with us, Madhavan. Congratulations on the theatrical launch of Rocketry after all the publicity you were able to garner for it in Cannes.
Well, the film released today, and we are very excited about the word of mouth and the positive reviews. We're keeping our fingers crossed, but the whole idea was to tell the story of a man who was wronged by this country. And I think it was not a consolidated effort to bring him down. It was just that we were careless enough not to know about him or to protect him from the forces that were trying to bring ISRO down and keep them behind. One of the most important aspects of this is the satellite launch market in 1994 that was opening up, and India was a big player in that. And we unfortunately lost out on it because we didn't have the cryogenic engine. So all this, the stories that needed to be told, to be understood, and most importantly, the man who built this engine that has never failed, was not known to anybody. When I met him, he was angsty and he was angry that whenever you put his name on Google, it spit out Nambi Narayanan of the ISRO spy case fame. And we wanted to change that algorithm and hope to see him as one of the most foremost scientists in India who developed the Vikas engine, which has never failed. In fact, last night, we had another extraordinary launch on behalf of ISRO, which used the PSLV, which used all of Nambi Narayan sir's engine.
Matty, what happens in cinema is that sometimes you have a very compelling story, and when you hear it, you're totally consumed by it. But to turn that into cinema, into something that holds audience attention, audiences of varied tastes, to hold their attention over those 2.5 hours, now that can be a task. So what were your main challenges in turning a story into the kind of film that Rocketry has turned out to be?
So I thought Nambi Narayan's story had the most cinematic appeal, more than a James Bond film. I mean, he actually was in Princeton. He was the first Ivy League student. He was in France with 52 scientists trying to learn how to build a liquid fuel engine. He was in Scotland trying to woo them to get, Rolls-Royce to get free equipment for India. He was in USSR while it was breaking down, trying to convince the Russian to give us the cryogenic engines while there were sanctions being applied to India. And despite which he managed to bring in 3 engines to India. And before he could develop, he was arrested and tortured and hit. So, I mean, how much more cinematic can you get with a film like this? And this is all true. And the idea was to show his brilliance before you show how he was wronged. And like the tagline of the film says, sometimes a man wronged is a nation wronged. And why wronging Nambi Narayanan was actually, wronging the entire nation and bring us back. Because in the years to come, we will desperately require intellectual capital in our country. With the world going the way it is, this should be the hub for technocrats to be in, and we need to make sure that we treat our technocrats, our scientists, and our IT professionals, as well as people who are futuristic about their belief in India, properly.
Well, it seems we are completely entrenched in biopics these days. Wherever you look, you're seeing biopics coming to you thick and fast. A lot of them are steeped in history. There is a lot of historical context, and a lot of them are historical characters, but you have certain people in our recent times, in our here and now, who are getting put for cinematic longevity. Now, tell me how you think these biopics are really attracting audiences. Why are we seeing so many of them in recent times?
Actually, I started this in 2016 and 17. Had it not been for the COVID, we would have released it in early 2000. But I think nobody looks for biopics to do. When one biopics does well, then there are many producers who think it's a safer bet to go and invest in a biopic. But as far as I was concerned, I wasn't looking to do a biopic. The story landed on my plate. I thought I was going to play a poor man's James Bond. It's only when I met him that it turned into a biopic. It's only when I met him and understood the angst he was suffering that it became a passion project. And the people who were involved with me, the Varghese and Vijay Bolan, as investors, they were very big fans of Nambi Narayanan because they are from Kerala. And so they wanted to fund this project and said, let's not worry about the budget and let's not worry about the timing. Let's do it. So for me to say that I played to the galleries when I decided to make a biopic would not be accurate because we had done this almost 5 years ago.
Well, what we've seen is that not only did you get excited, you managed to create that excitement for the likes of Shah Rukh Khan and Surya. You roped them in as well. How did that happen? Because sometimes getting big stars as part of your film, especially to play cameos, that can be a bit of a difficulty.
I think the fact that there are patriots in the country who, do not fit the cliched, or let me not just say cliched, I'm saying the generic description of a patriot. They don't live in the borders and they don't really go out every time putting their life on the line and the line of flying bullets. And hats off to all those people who make those sacrifices. These kind of patriots also put their life online every day. There are ISRO scientists who disappear or fall off the side of the earth every year, and we don't know how and when. And if you see Nambi Narayan's life and what he has achieved and what he has built, it's spectacular considering the resources at their disposal. So these patriots also need to be nourished, and they also need to be protected and made heroes of and made examples so that people around the world will consider India as a great place to, and I'm saying technocrats around the world would consider India a great place to work in. And that's very, very important for us in the space race that we're entering right now. It's going to be extremely important for us to get the intellectual capital back to India. And that was the theme of this story.
Also, Maddie, when you are making a film, now that you're on the production side, you've been perhaps monitoring how the screenplay actually gets written. When you are in the process of making a film, the theme is going to be the most crucial factor. How the character arc develops. As far as Nambi Narayanan is concerned, this is a real person. You have the facts before you. Now you're going to create a stronger theme that runs through the entire film and holds your audience and holds the film together. So what would you say is the underlying theme that makes Rocketry work?
So we had very regular actors in their places almost 1 month before the shoot. Nobody imagined that I would get a Surya or a Shah Rukh, nor did I. It was just that it was meant to be a small film that suddenly became bigger because I had narrated a bit of the story to Shah Rukh sir when we were shooting for Zero. And he reminded me about it when we went to meet him on his birthday and said, I want to be part of the film. And I thought he was joking. He said, no, I'll give you whatever dates you want. Make me do a passing from the back or what. I just want to be part of the film. And I really thought he was joking till 2 days later when I messaged his assistant to thank him for remembering my script. And she messaged back in saying, no, he's serious. Do you have a role for him? I said, not something that is in the passing. And she said, no, what do you have in mind? And I told him it's a fairly important role. And she just said, how many dates do you require? And he was there on the set and he didn't take any money from me. He didn't take anything from me. In fact, I forced him to, some way or the other that I could repay this debt, but he was gracious about it. And as was Surya. When I came to know Shah Rukh was doing it, I needed somebody from the south to do it. And Surya, being my best friend, jumped in, came into all the way from Chennai to Bombay. Didn't take any money, worked on his lines with his writer. Seriously, one hadn't chalk marked this sort of achievement for the film. And I don't think that, I had bitten off more than I could chew in terms of casting them. It's a dream cast, but I'm glad I got the opportunity to do that in my very first film.
But Madhavan, as much as we talk about strong themes, we also have to understand audience tastes and what they are accepting of. Certain kinds of cinema, a certain kind of storytelling, audiences seem to be more accepting of that. In fact, they demand it these days too. And we've seen that through what is put out on OTTs as well. But talk about social media and the audience over there and the way they engage. You've been a victim of a certain kind of trolling because of that remark about the Panchang, about India's Mars mission. And lately there was some venom spewing as well when there was the number of Twitter followers that had been misquoted or misrepresented in your case. But, you know, that kind of trolling, that kind of negativity, a lot of buzz is about society becoming increasingly intolerant. What's your take on that?
You know, I wanted to translate it's called the Navigational Almanac. It was unique to the Indian ISRO, the algorithm that they made for the Mars mission, and it is unique to India. We did manage that with 2 engines. But when I was speaking in Hindi and in Tamil, if I was to look for the translation of the almanac in Hindi and in Tamil, if you look at the Google Translate, it says Panchang. It says Panchangam for Tamil. And that's the word I used because I didn't want to say navigational almanac, which I thought was an alien word because as it is being accused of using a lot of techno words in the film. That got picked up and that got misunderstood as trying to promote a religion, which is sad, which is not what the idea was. But you're right. People are sensitive, or people actually target you for using a word which they assume is inappropriate or inaccurate, and that's fine. For me, it doesn't really make a difference. All my trolls. I actually also, to be honest with you, all the trolls that troll me are also part of this country, and I have utmost respect and love for them. If I don't like the tone they use, I might block them. But they have a right to, not to be considered my enemy or my opponent. So I try to spread as much cheer as possible. If they are courteous and polite to me, I apologize if I'm wrong. Yes, I did say that Twitter had 25 million followers instead of saying 250 million, which was to actually prove a point that less than 1.7% of the public of India is on Twitter. And so, therefore, it is not necessary for all of us to think that our world revolves around what Twitter or the social media says. But we do get trolled for things, and hats off to those guys. I'm sure they have a lot of better things to do. But when they're correcting me, if they do it politely, I accept it. If they do it rudely, I block them. But I try to spread cheer on the social media. And you're right, people are becoming a little edgy and to an extent nasty, and it's unfortunate.
This is a big ET Now exclusive. Zomato, as well as Blinkit, formerly called Grofers, have signed a term sheet for in-merger.
ET Now was the first to tell you that Zomato would be buying out the 10-minute delivery startup Blinkit. And we at ET Now understand that for this amalgamation, you could see a 7% equity dilution when we talk about Zomato. This is an ET Now exclusive. Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Industries considering buying out the famous Revlon company. Revlon, which is in 150 countries, a 90-year-old brand, earlier this week, it did file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States.
Yeah, in fact, you could even call it distractions, and there is a lot of that when you're trying to stay focused, and you have done that over the 25 years that you've been in cinema. There is a certain amount of longevity that you've enjoyed in both Tamil and Hindi cinema. How have you been able to pull that off, considering that at least in our film industry here in Mumbai, we've talked about camps. You haven't really belonged to any camp. Still, you've survived, and you seem to be doing pretty well for yourself. In fact, you're evolving from an actor to a producer to a director. How did you pull it off?
I'm really impressed with your pronunciation of Tamil. Thank you for that. It really makes us come closer and endears you to us. The second thing is, I've never been, actually, if truth be told, I don't belong to any camp. Even when I'm sometimes in the South, when I have the naysayers, they call me a North Indian actor. When I'm in the North, they tell me I'm a South Indian actor. I don't belong to any of these camps. The only thing that I have, in unequivocally, which you cannot debate about, is the love of my fans around the country. Be it, it's language agnostic and region agnostic. So I am very grateful for that, and I think that is because of the kind of films I had the fortunate luck to be part of, like Rang De Basanti or Three Idiots in Hindi, and multiple such films in the South. So they don't categorize me. They don't put me up in a box. So that becomes easy to survive. Secondly, I don't think I'm a competitor or I'm eating into anybody's market with the kind of films that I do. So nobody considers me that. I do my kind of movies and I do them really well. And I'm proud of that. And that's probably why I've survived for 25 odd years. I have some great friends in the industry who are just a phone call away. And it'll be very unfortunate or wrong of me to say that I've been discriminated against by any actor or a group of people in either of the industries. If the film doesn't work, it doesn't work. Bottom line is the audiences did just not take to it. That's the bottom line. And if you have a film that works, it works irrespective of where you're from. If everybody understood that, then they will understand the futility of calling us groups, because nobody can force the audience to like an actor.
So there is this huge body of work behind you already. When you look back a little bit, when you get a moment to yourself and you're kind of looking back at what you've been able to achieve in all this time that you've stayed focused and continue to do good work, at least work that excites you, what is the kind of work that makes you the proudest from everything that you've done?
Oh, I'm sorry to be biased at this point of time, but I'm really, really proud of Rocketry at the moment, because of what we managed to achieve in 3 languages and the kind of budgets we had and the kind of challenges that were put up for us. I think forever, for a long, long time to come, it'll be at the top of my memory as one of my greatest projects.
And Madhavan, I also know that you've said that you'd always like to do age-appropriate roles. I want to ask if there are enough of those going around. So I know for a fact how much I laughed when I watched Decoupled, and that's the story that many people who I've been speaking to about the show, they've really enjoyed it. It does deliver a bundle of laughs. Are those kind of roles really available to you? Are you finding them easily?
I'm very nervous. I was very nervous about Decoupled because I thought, we kept it it is in English, and people thought very less people will see it, and we are so anti-woke in that, and this guy is kind of ridiculous in his take on life. But strangely, I haven't gotten as much love from any other work I've done in the recent past as I've got from Decoupled, from around the world and across the regions. From every country that I've visited in the last 15 months, everybody has been talking about it. In fact, half my Rocketry interviews have been wasted on Decoupled, and I'll say wasted because I actually paid to have those press conferences done, where I paid for the hotel and everything and to conduct it. But honestly, I'm very proud of it. My wife and I studied, and I thought before the release of it that we've mucked up. We bit over a little more than we should have tuned, and this is going to be dangerous. But it was just a pleasant surprise. And I like to do age-appropriate roles because I don't have to work too hard trying to convince people about my look for that character. That itself is extremely challenging. And unless it's extremely important, there is no point in trying to sell somebody that I'm a young guy and I'm capable of falling in love with a younger girl who's probably 15 years. As it is, when I was doing Sala Khadus and Tandu Edsmanu, my heroines were close to 20 years younger than me. So I just couldn't relate to that romance. So I have to look for romance or characters that are age appropriate for me to be at ease when I'm shooting for that film.
Well, from the acting side, from the creative side, Madhavan, you've jumped over to the production side and the direction side, and that's when the economies of filmmaking really come into play. How much of that have you been able to absorb? I mean, is that something that you've gotten right as far as Rocketry is concerned? Are you in the black where this project in particular is? Because that is the most crucial bit. Perhaps it's going to tell you whether you should do more of it or not.
I have been lucky. I don't think we're anywhere close to being black with this film. We were smart, and I think we accomplished a lot more financially with this film. So we're good. I hope that the film does well in the box office, and if it does, then we'll be great. I think financially and structuring a project-wise, even though it was my first project, I was astute, and I will continue to do that. I mean, I've learned it from the best. on how to hedge your risks and at the same time make the kind of films you want to and tell the stories you do. Sometimes you win, sometimes you win big, sometimes you lose. But I don't think any of my producers has ever come to the road with his pants down because he produced a film with me.
Yes, so in fact, I want to ask you whether we can expect R Madhavan to come out with more production projects, more films that you will be directing in the near future. Is that what is going to be in your pipeline?
The turnaround in terms of the actors' finances are much quicker. I want to actually also work as an actor extensively for the next 2-3 years because I think I'm on the right side of getting mature roles that I can pull off and establish at this age. I don't think that I want to do too much of production or direction right now. That's always something that I know I can do whenever I want to, as long as I have the perspective as well as I'm ahead of the curve in terms of the story I'm telling. But that's a requirement at any given point of time. But now with age on my side, I need to make sure that I do as many stories as I can. I have so many stories to tell and I have so many emotions to portray that I would like to be an actor for the next 3-4 years.
Well, through the entire process of making good cinema, of promoting it, making sure the publicity is right, and as a producer, you have to don that hat and you have to take care of so many different aspects of it. You need time to yourself. You need to kind of, rejuvenate. How do you do that? I know that golf is something that you really enjoy. Are you able to do as much of it as you used to?
A considerable amount of our prep for a project involves writing and involves me getting onto the screenplay. When we do that, I have a lot of time at hand because that at best is handled at about 3-4 hours a day. So I go off to golf in the morning and then I'm so happy that I come back and I'm able to think clearly for my screenplays while I'm engaging with that. But once the shoot starts, nothing else is possible. But in today's world, we are very judicious with the number of dates of shoot and everything. So, we finished the project fairly quickly, unlike earlier on when we used to take a long time to finish a film. And then the turnaround being that quick, I don't have to worry about living away from things that really make me happy, like either golf or sailing or biking, whatever that I do. But I'd like to spend a little more time with my family if I have the chance, because my son's growing up and he'll soon leave for college. I need to make sure I'm not an absentee father in the next 2 years.
Well, we hope you have a great weekend, and we're expecting a lot of great cinema in times ahead from you as well, Madhavan. Good luck going ahead with Rocketry. We hope it does very well at the theatres, at the box office. And of course, we will stay connected. We'll catch you when you come out with your next big project. But for the moment, thanks very much for making time and speak to us here on ET Now.
This is a big ET Now exclusive. Zomato, as well as Blinkit, formerly called Grofers, have signed a term sheet for in-budget.
ET Now was the first to tell you that Zomato would be buying out the 10-minute delivery startup Blinkit. And we at ET Now understand that for this amalgamation, you could see a 7% equity dilution when we talk about Zomato. This is an ET Now exclusive. Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Industries considering buying out the famous Revlon company. Revlon, which is in 150 countries, a 90-year-old brand. Earlier this week, it did file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States.